Welcome to Superside. This is round 5 of the FIM Sidecar World Championship, coming to you from Misano, San Marino. And has it been hot down here? We have sweltering conditions, high track temperatures, and some pretty exciting action coming your way. We can see the heat haze there already, and that is going to be the story of today's race. Heat, tyres, engines, and crews getting everything together around this picturesque circuit just near the coast, near Rimini. We've had 5 rounds so far, Valencia, Monza, Oschersleben, Silverstone, and this is Misano. We've had Steve Webster winning the last 2, and as well as Valencia. Klaus Klaffenbach winning Monza, and Webbo is on it again. He's on pole position, and he is there set for 3 in a row. Norman Burgess, how are you today?
Rob, good. The temperature is going to be the decider, I've got to say, at this meeting. The tyres are going to be a big issue here. Engine temperatures, passenger and driver fatigue.
Large crowd here today, a couple of photographers as well, enjoying the sunshine. Great photographs of the action. Lots of chair wheels lifting off the deck. There we see the weather, sunny conditions, 70% humidity. It is hard for those boys out there. They've got a lot of work to do, and they're in enclosed spaces with high humidity. Track temperature, a massive 53 degrees. That's actually 1 degree down on last year, which was 54. So very, very similar. And the air temperature, 31 degrees out there. A lot of people in the crowd enjoying that.
70% humidity, that's going to be one of the problems.
Most definitely. And how about these cameramen? They're doing a hard job. They've been out there all day, just done Super Pole, and they'll be watching the action, making sure we get the best pictures possible.
Yeah, the theory of the mad dog and Englishman comes into this one, Rob. And yeah, a difficult job.
There we are on the grid. Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead out in front, and lots of umbrellas. We'll see a few wet towels around the shoulders. Photographers working hard down there as well, but everyone trying to do their utmost at this point just to relax and take their time in the last 5 or so minutes before the race starts.
The important one here, Rob, is to lots of fluid intake.
Yes, and Ian Guy down on the grid there. Can we talk to Steve Webster, please, Ian?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm here with pole position man Steve Webster, winner of the last 2 races. Steve, sweltering conditions here today. How do you approach this race?
Yeah, really, it's more of a race of endurance, I think, than an out-and-out race. I think it will be, if you're there at the end, lapping consistently, I'm sure that everybody will be in with a shout. So, but it's the same for everybody. It's the same heat in the tyres, the way everybody rides. So it'll be very much down to who can save the tyres and the brakes and a little bit of energy for the last few laps.
So you're feeling in good shape?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, as good as anybody, I think. We've got the same, good chance. We've got pointed end of the grid here, so we hopefully get a good start. And again, that's important, getting a good start and being in the cool air really as well. So.
Okay, good luck, Steve.
Thanks, Ian. Down on the grid there, Steve Webster talking about endurance, and that's what it's going to be. Steve Webster currently 6 points behind Klaus Klaffenbach in the championship. That is really closing up in the midpoint of the season. There we see him down there, just relaxing.
Really gets me, this one there. I mean, he's so cool. I mean, 8 times world champion. He's obviously done all this before, but I mean, he's so cool, relaxed, and saving his nervous energy. And yes, I think we'll see some action from Mr. Webster this afternoon.
Steinhausen and Hopkinson, second place on the grid. They're only a little bit behind him, Webbo, all weekend. They've been very, very close. And Jörg there is here just to do the job. It's a holiday town just down the road. The beach is there. Jörg is here to race and win.
Yes, he's got the cold towel on, as per most of the teams will have. Just cools them down a little minute, and he'll be ready for some action and all.
Ian Guy, have we got Jörg for us?
Yeah, we've got second place man Jörg. Jörg, you've been very close to Steve in training this weekend, a lot closer than perhaps the last few races. Are you feeling pretty confident for today?
I'm feeling very confident. The heat should help us.
Yeah.
Hope we don't waste the tyre too early, but I'm really confident to beat him today.
Good luck.
Thanks, Ian. There's Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs just taking the final sip of water, or the final bottle of water, I should say. Qualified 3rd, the world champion, and he'll be looking to come through, I'd say, late in the race. But 4th on the grid, Hanks Biggs. They've had some trouble, but remember last year with that shredded rear tyre, they were leading the race early. shredded the rear tyre and fell back through to battle with Klaus Glampenbach for about 4th place.
Yeah, this is Tom Hanks. He's the action man. He'll send it sideways on the corner. And yes, it has his price to pay with the tyre problems, but we'll see action from Tom Hanks today.
And 5th there on the grid, Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Parts, 2001 champions. Klaus has been pretty cool about the whole weekend, taking things gently. And he actually tried a qualifier on Saturday, as we see him playing up. Tried to qualify, but it didn't work for him. So we'll see how he does. He's done most of his qualifying on race tyres. So we should see him come through during the midpoint of the race, I think. Christian Parts are there with a smile.
Yeah, talking about tyres, I think the letter P, which is the difficult, hard tyre, is going to be used today. I know Steve Webster isn't using one today, but allegedly they use these tyres through truck racing as well.
Well, the Steve Webster on the front, not using the P, he's using an I tyre, which is hard. There's Martin Van Gils just preparing, putting the helmet on with his fashionable headgear. Dan Morrissey, the Team Excalibur group there, what a qualifying session he had. He jumped from 16th up to 7th in that final qualifying, knocked 3.5 seconds off of his fastest time, and I think if he relaxes at the start, we might see him coming through to maybe 5th place towards the end of the race.
Yeah, Dan, one of the young guns, puts a lot of time and effort into it, and yeah, it's paying off at the end of all this. Tom has worked for as long as you can imagine to prepare the outfit, and yes, he's putting the effort in now, and he wish you had seen results.
Rocha and Harney, they've been very, very consistent, currently 4th in the standings, and haven't been up the top of the races, but have been getting good points each round. Adolf Harney, the veteran, he loves this thing. He's spent many, many years of his life racing with the top guys, and he's 4th in the championship at the moment. Consistency that's what the championship's all about.
The hardest man in sidecar race is Adolf Harney. Adolf can take the knocks, and yes, he's back every year.
Gatton Randall, current British champions, first year as a full team, and they have been doing very well. The British team using the LCR chassis there, we can just see in there, look at that, there's a temperature gauge just on top of the radiator. So the passenger will be able to have a look at that as they go down the straights.
Looking at the temperature gauge there, Rob, it's not so far off the red, white line, and that's where we don't want it.
Yeah, so Gatton Randall, they'll be looking for a good finish. Steve Webster prepares himself. This is his quiet time, just preparing himself, put the helmet on, put the gloves on, do his fast lap in his head. So here we are with the confirmation of the grid. Webster and Woodhead, pole position, 139.3. Great stuff for them. Steinhausen and Hopkinson. Abbott and Biggs, the current champions, in 3rd, but we'll be looking. Abbott always looks for the win. Row 3, we have Hanks and Biggs, Klaffenbach and Part. So that's the top 5. They're the big 5, as we call them. Van Gils will be pushing to enter that fray. Van Gils doing a lot of racing in Holland recently. Row 4, the jump, Morrissey jumping up to 7th place. Morrissey and Harper, Rocha and Harney consistently in 8th. Gatton Randall, the British champions, in 9th. And then Philpin Yendel, that's a good top 10. But Billy Gauros, 11th qualified. Well done for Billy, coming from Sweden, long trip. The French team, Mengay and Bedolt, they're in 12th. They also jumped up from 17th. Doppler and Wagner, they're the German champions at the moment, and that's pretty good for them. Hautzey, Skeen and Peach. Peach has had some big engine trouble. In fact, he blew up in the qualifying at lunchtime today, and he's got a borrowed engine from Steve Webster, which is a bit of news there. So Steve Webster giving away his spare engine to Andy Peach, his teammate from last year. A lot of action to come, I'd say. We'll see this, the heat haze just on the track there. We'll see that coming around. Long shots, it's going to be fantastic, I think. This is the sidecar race.
This is the sidecar race, Rob, and I think we're going to see some action here. We're going to see some tyre action. We're going to see some... I actually think we'll actually see fatigue and the pressure of racing under these extreme temperatures.
Speaking of pressure, Ian Guy, have you got some news about Andy Peach?
Yeah, guys, they struggled to get that engine in time for the race, and came out for the sighting lap, and it was on 3 cylinders, so had to come straight into the pit lane. They've just changed all the electrics and the injectors, and now it seems to be on 4 cylinders, so they're going to join the warm-up lap from pit lane, and good luck to the guys.
Yes, Andy Peach has been struggling this weekend with engines. He's earlier in the year he had fuel injection problems, which he seems to have solved, but then there we see him joining the warm-up lap. But then today, last night, they discovered that 2 exhaust valves were closed in one of the cylinders. It was only running on 3. They tried to fix it, worked up until 1 o'clock this morning, and they didn't even make the outlap of qualifying before the thing blew its head off. So they borrowed the engine from Steve Webster, and we can see them leaving pit lane now. So the warm-up lap, this is the big left-hander out the back. This is where we'll see Steiny throwing it sideways, Hanks through the Cavani. Lots of power in these 1000cc engines.
Yeah, what they're actually doing here, Rob, believe it or believe it not, they're actually warming the tyres up, warming the engine up and warming the drivers and passengers up. You wouldn't believe it, but they do need to do 1 lap just to get into the swing of things. As you can see there, Steinhausen weaving the outfit about, and yes, what he's trying to do is even put more temperature into the tyres.
Yes, the passengers will be relaxing here, trying not to overstress their arms. There's Billy Galros. What a great qualifying he had.
Billy's had problems all through the weekend, and then he came through into the last session and put himself up into about 12th place on the grid, and he really has had problems, but all the way from Sweden, Billy isn't going to lie down.
Yes, obviously Billy has been racing Grand Prix for years, and this is his first year on a 4-stroke, only changing over just before the Valencia race. So he's always been running the 500cc 2-stroke engines.
Yeah, Billy, an ex-Grand Prix winner. He won as a passenger, and yeah, came into the throng of sidecar racing with a 2-stroke. This is his first season with a 4-stroke. Found it a little difficult, but yeah, he's doing okay, Billy.
Andy Peach still motoring around, so that's a positive sign for the second of the Team Ready Mix entries.
There's a classic sign now of experience. Steve Webster now slowing the field down. They will approach the starting grid rather steadily, and everybody will think, well, what is Steve Webster doing? But what he's actually doing is letting the tail enders catch up with him.
We could see Paul Roundel there just stretching out his left hand. That's going to be the hand he's going to use for the next 20 laps of this Misano circuit. So he just wants to relax it as he's going up to the grid, make sure everything's under control, and he can hold on tight for that first few turns.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's happening here, Rob. I've spoken to several of the drivers, several of the passengers, and they are suffering literally from heat blisters. Obviously, the passenger is sat behind the radiator, which is not the perfect position to be under these conditions, but yes, and the handhold is literally red hot, and it's causing them problems.
Yeah, some of the teams have made a heat diverter there. Just as the air comes in, they put a panel in there to divert the heat away from the radiator. And yeah, you might be able to see it on Abbott's machine there.
Yeah,
but,
no, you can't just see it there, Robert. It's behind the helmet of Steve Webster. But Abbott has actually put in a vent so that he's getting as cool air as possible because of his clutch hand. The temperature is not only coming from the circuit, but it's actually coming from the brakes, and the wheel spinning and the tyre. It is really just producing heat.
Okay, the red flag's up. The teams are set. Pace cars in behind. Passengers just taking those last few breaths and setting themselves. Jamie Biggs, the last of the passengers to take his seat. Red lights are on. We'll wait for them to go out. Lights are out, and Abbott's got the jump. Abbott and Steinhausen side by side around Webster, just like Silverstone last week again. Steiny tries to squeeze Webbo and Abbott, but Webster goes round the outside of Abbott and takes second place into turn 1. Steinhausen leads. Abbott, Webster, bit of dust kicked up there. Van Gils into 4th, then Klaffenbach, but Klaffenbach will go through into 4th, just around the Curva del Carro, into the Curvone for the first time. Webster in second place, but Steinhausen's jumped out in front. Look at the gap that Steinhausen has on lap 1.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we're going to see here, Rob. We're going to see Steinhausen put a lot of effort, a lot of time into a couple of laps, and he's going to lose tyres. This is the problem. The inexperience from Jorg. You'll see the tyre wear as the race progresses.
Abbott there, up the inside, a lot of bumps into that corner. Abbott really trying hard to chase after Steinhausen in the early stages.
Did you see that? The black line from Steve Webster. Now, that is not inexperience.
Abbott under Webster. Abbott into the right-hander. That's a great move from Abbott there, really early in the race.
Yes, when you think about it, these are now looking at the race, and yeah, a lot of action into the first lap. Abbott's already made one move on Webster.
Well, excitement on the first lap. We've got to calm down in the commentary here. We won't last these 20 laps otherwise. Steinhausen, Abbott, sorry, Steinhausen, Webster, Abbott, Van Gils, no, Klaffenbach, Van Gils, and Hanks.
Hanks, the young British gun. We're going to see some black lines from Hanks. He'll leave black lines all over the circuit.
Hanks last year got out early like Steinhausen has, but only lasted 5 laps before his rear tyre went off. Maybe Hanks has learnt a few things with 1 year's experience. He's now in 6th place.
The word is experience.
So, Hanks in 6th, Rocher in 7th, Skeen in 8th, Menge, the Frenchman, in 9th, and Philp in 10th. Back to the front, Steve Webster looks like he's closed that gap up to Steinhausen. Abbott's still with him, maybe dropped off a couple of bike lengths after those incorrect lines due to overtaking manoeuvres there, but Steinhausen looks pretty smooth so far.
Yeah, what happens here, Rob? They're going to make all the action. They're going to dive inside, go around the outside, go over, go under, go where they can. But
Webster taking the lead. That's a very big move under brakes from Steve Webster. Going out early under brakes, not making it a last-minute move, and controlled into the corner. And it looks like Klaffenbach might be in 3rd there as well. Klaffenbach takes Abbott. Steinhausen back on Webster. So much action so far. Webster hung out to dry on the wide line, but Steinhausen takes the lead back. This is a fight on lap 2.
This is 2 laps of action, and I mean action. But you see Steve Webster there. He's looking, he's following Jörg Steinhausen with Tom Hanks in 3rd place.
Klaffenbach looking to make a move on Webster here. Look at this, Klaffenbach under brakes. Oh, shut the door, Steve Webster did. And Klaffenbach there. Look at a replay here. Here's the move earlier in the lap. We've had 4 moves since then. Webster under brakes. Look at the front of the machine, just bouncing on those bumps. Takes the inside line. Here's the second move. Steiny comes back on him. And Steiny just underneath him. Webster goes to turn in, sees Steinhausen there, and can't make the move on him.
Yeah, what they're doing is draft and pass. A little bit of a draft, get a little bit of speed, and dive on the inside.
But normally at Misano, such a tyre shredding track in such hot conditions, they sort of tend to settle down a little bit and stay in line for a few laps.
There you see Jörg Steinhausen again putting the machine sideways, and this, he's going to pay a price for this one.
Okay, we still have Abbott in 4th place there, Klaffenbach in front of him, Webster. Let's see if it's something to do with top speed here, down the straight. Webster last time round was 250 with Steinhausen 240. Here it is, Webster pulls out of the slipstream and just moves through before the braking marker.
What I've done there, Rob, I've done the draft and pass. That is literally a power manoeuvre.
So Webster, with what seems to be 10 kilometres an hour on Steinhausen, could possibly do that every lap as Steinhausen has to do it under brakes. But Steiny's pretty close to Webster, and this has allowed Claffey right on his tail there. Abbott sitting back in 4th.
Yeah, the wily Derbyshire Fox hopefully watching at the moment. You look at the lap speeds or the top speeds, 250, 251, 249, all very close.
And Hanks there in 6th place, but so close with the leaders. Webbo with a slightly different line. Steiny, I think, has blocked Klaffenbach on a braking move there. Abbott seems to be taking a breath. Van Gils and Hanks right behind, the top 6 fighting for it.
They're all closing up again now on one another. Interesting to see the camera shots there. We're looking at the wear on the back tyre, and you will see through the television camera how much wear is going on through the effort that they're putting in at the moment.
Well, Webster pulled a second on Steiny that lap. So on the lap time and half a second across the line, bit of dust kicked up through the first turn. I think Klaffenbach's going to make a fairly aggressive move very soon in his normal Klaffenbach style.
Abbott looking on the inside of Klaffenbach though. He's got to be careful because the wily Derbyshire Fox is looking on the inside, and he'll make a move at any pass that he can.
Van Gils and Hanks just sitting behind there. They're all in the 141s except for Steinhausen that last lap. Webster with the fastest lap, 141.058. So Webster, this is what he normally does. Klaffenbach under Steiny, and Abbott looked to go down there as well.
Oh, Rob, it's all happening in this one. There's nobody clearing off in this one. They're all going to be together. This is going to be a real attrition of fatigue, tyres, engines, everything.
Hanks there looking to put a move on Van Gils, but not doing it into the right-hander at the back of the circuit there. Webster, he's settling down now.
When Steve Webster settles down, he usually pulls about a 10-second advantage over the rest of the field. and that's it. But maybe about 4 or 5 machines length at the moment. That's all he's got on Steinhausen.
Steinhausen there, a very, very tight line, and already we can see some dirt on the track. That's when the passengers get positioned by no fault of their own over the dirt, and they scrape a bit of dirt. Oh, big hit from Steinhausen. Big hit from Steinhausen, and Klaffenbach fights back about it, tells him what's going on. Oh, and there it is. Trevor Hopkinson tells him back. It's side by side, Klaffenbach and Steinhausen. There will be something said about that.
Oh, dearie me, that was pure aggression. I mean, I can only use the word aggression there. It will upset the both teams that this sort of action's going on, and it's not what we usually get in sidecar racing.
Well, Steiny and Claffey, they go back a long, long time with their disagreements, and looks like Jörg, I can only put the blame in his court at this point. He was behind going too fast, and I think it was fully his fault for hitting Klaffenbach. I've gone out on a limb with that one.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there, Rob. And you're going to see some action now. He's going to draft him past, yes?
Oh, look at the fairing. It looks like there's a fair bit of damage to Steinhausen's fairing on the right-hand side at the front. So we'll have to see if that's going to be a bit of a danger or not. No, it looks all right to me from that camera shot. Steinhausen in front of Klaffenbach again. This is a ding-dong battle. Here's the replay. Klaffenbach and Steiny just comes in. There was no room for his LCR through there. He was very, very lucky not to hit Klaus Klaffenbach and, well, Christian Partzer. Klaus says in a bit of sign language there, would you mind giving me a bit of room? And Trevor Hopkinson then waves back, OK, next lap.
I think he said twice, actually, Rob.
OK, we'll take a bit of a breather. Hope they take a bit of a breather and let this rubbing, as they call it in car racing, settle down a bit. We like clean moves, and Steiny seems to be on a mission here. Oh, sideways onto the straight. That is just power. The chair wheel in the air, you turn it on the throttle with the right wrist, a little bit of extra throttle to spin up the rear wheel and get that machine in line.
I've got to say there, looking at the monitor, Abbott has gone. Steve Abbott, the world champion, has gone.
Well, Abbott, that's not good for his championship defence. Must be heat-related, I would say, fairly definitely in these conditions. Steve Abbott will fight through any other problem. If the clutch is slipping a bit, he'll fight through it. If it's tyres going off, he will make it through, but it must have been a terminal problem very early in the race.
Won the World Championship on a slipping clutch. Yes, Abbott's pulled out for some reason. It will be an heat-related problem, I'm absolutely sure. Quite confident before we started the commentary that he was going to put a lot of effort in trying to pull championship points back.
Yeah, Steinhausen looks like he's still out of shape there. I'm wondering if that hit actually damaged some of the steering arms in the front of the chassis, because he looks like he's just moving around there a little bit. Maybe something's on a little bit loose. He normally is fairly smooth on that LCR.
I'll tell you what it is now. Klaus Klaffenbach will be watching him. Klaus Klaffenbach will be deciding when to make a move. And yes, I'd rather be Klaffenbach's passenger than Steinhausen's at the moment.
I'd rather be in commentary, I think. Klaffenbach fighting back. You can see the way he's coming through the corners. He doesn't want the German in front of him. A bit of German-Austrian rivalry at stake. So, Ian, Guy in pit lane, you raced with Jörg Steinhausen at some stage. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it was a very tough move. Sorry, as the guys all go past, it's a very tough move from Steinhausen, but I remember here 2 years ago, and really difficult to pass. He goes very, very deep into the corners and sort of slow coming out, but he's such a hard man on the track, and so's Claffey, so this is going to be really interesting.
Ian, could we say this was a heat-related move?
Hot-headed, yeah.
Thanks, Ian, for those comments in pit lane. Well, Webster continues to put in fastest laps. He's on his own now out the front. He's got a 3-second gap over this battle for second, Steinhausen and Klaffenbach. And he's just put in a 1:3.99, so it's the quickest lap we've seen, but we'll see how he goes towards the end of the race. I think he's going to just improve on that time for the next 5 laps, build a big gap, and let these guys fight it out behind him. Top speeds down the straight there. Webster with a 2:45, Steinhausen Hopkinson 2:43, Claffey 2:50. He has got the fast Yamaha in that machine.
Yeah, very misleading are the top speeds on this one, Rob, because what they're actually doing is drafting one another down the straight, and in fact, the speed trap is at the end of the straight, and also they get a false reading through the braking.
Yes, it's one of those things. He who brakes last sometimes gets the top speed by default. So 251 kilometres from Klaffenbach that time is pretty quick around this Misano circuit. I'm
looking at Klaffenbach's rear tyre. I saw something there, Rob. I'm not sure whether there was actually rubber coming away from the end of it, but we'll see this on one of the camera shots, and I think maybe Claffey's got a little rear tyre problem.
Well, if we don't see the smoke off the rear tyre, we might see it out of his ears underneath the helmet. I reckon he's still going to be angry. Here's some more action from Klaffenbach. Look at the chair wheel in the air. Oh, but he's gone across some gravel, and that is almost opposite lock under power from Klaffenbach. Amazing stuff, amazing control from the Austrians.
Yeah, looking again, camera shot on the back tyre. Looks okay at the moment, Rob, but he's certainly putting it under some stress.
Yeah, a lot of stress out there. This is the left-hander here. He's actually backing it in under power, so the rear end of the machine, under almost full noise, is getting sideways, entering the turn out the back through Caverny.
I'll tell you something else, I know, Rob. Steve Webster and Klaffenbach, Steinhausen are coming together again.
Right, Webster with a 1:41.1, so Webster slowing down a bit. That's very, very interesting from where I'm standing. That's 2 seconds a lap he's slowed down. So Webster, has he got a problem? Is it a water problem with the engine like we saw last year?
There you see him on the straight now. You're looking at Jörg Steinhausen closing in on Steve Webster, with Klaffenbach closing in on Steinhausen. We're going to see some action here, Rob.
But Webster still pulled 250 down the straight last time, so the gap has closed. It was 1.9 second, then 1.6, and now 1 second gap. That's amazing from Steinhausen to close the gap back to Webster.
I'm having a guess at a tyre problem here.
Tyre problem, engine problem? Well, shouldn't be an engine problem with that top speed.
Oh, Jörg Steinhausen leaving blackies all over the circuit. I mean, he can see Steve Webster now.
There's the board for Steiny. Position 2, laps to go, 12. So reaching half race distance, 10 of 20 coming up in a lap or two, and that is where I think the tyre problems will be evident. Not the tyre problems, the driver error causing the tyres to rip up, as we've said before. People will be finding the rear tyre getting over hot.
Yeah, what happens is it gets over hot, overheats, sheds the rubber, and as we saw last year with Tom Hanks, you just lose your drive and that's it, finished.
In qualifying, Jörg Steinhausen had the rear tyre temperature up to 115 degrees.
1.3 seconds now in between Webster and Steinhausen.
So that gap has actually gone out a bit. It was down to 1 second, I think, at last look. So Webster has responded. He's done a 1:40.3. So he's dropped lap times again. Very inconsistent for Webster.
Rob, Steinhausen's done a 1:39.7.
So Steiny definitely on the ball here with lap times. Klaffenbach doesn't seem to be going with him at this point. But maybe Claffey's decided to let the red mist in his visor settle down a little bit, and he'll come back towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, Hanks has moved in front of Van Gils to 4th place. Van Gils 5th, Rocher 6th, Philp 7th, Skeen 8th, and Dan Morrissey in 9th, and your friend Billy Gauros in 10th.
All the way from Sweden, 10th place. That's a magnificent effort from Billy.
Ian Guy, have we got something from you in pit lane?
Yeah, hi guys. Speaking to Steve Webster earlier on in the day, and he was suffering a little bit of overheating problems. And they were trying a new expansion bottle on the outfit. Louis Christian, that builds the chassis, was in there as well. So I'm just surmising that it may be still a little bit of a problem, and he's just backed off a little bit just to allow it to cool down, and then he'll pull the pin again.
Well, Ian, exactly what you've just said. He's just put in a 1:39.7, his fastest lap of the race. So Webster, yeah, maybe, as you say, 2 laps, and to cool the engine down, puts in a fast one again to spread the gap out again. It's now up to 1.5 again.
Yeah, we've got Webster, Steinhausen, Klaffenbach, then in 4th place, Hanks, Van Gils, Rocher, Bill Phillips in 7th place, Jock Skeen in 8th, Billy Gauros now in 9th, and Dan Morrissey in 10th.
So Gauros and Morrissey seem to be having a bit of a battle there. And, yeah, big midfield battle there. Gauros, Morrissey. Menge there, Menge, the tyre squealing Frenchman. He's very exciting to watch, putting that sidecar wheel under a great deal of stress.
Yeah, there's some description there. The tyre squealing Frenchman, yeah. Good description, though.
If you've heard him on the track, the tyre squealing into the corner is just amazing. The gap now 1.3 seconds, Webster to Steinhausen. So it's gone down again. It just keeps going up and down. I think Webster must be playing with that temperature.
I'll tell you what it is, Rob. I think Steve Webster's got a problem because Steve Webster traditionally gives him a 10-second gap and then takes it easy, watches his pit board. But well, as we've seen, Jörg Steinhausen is full of fire.
Steiny is the most consistent of the pair. He's running low 140s. Webster keeps going between mid-39s, 41s, and now he's just done a 40 again. So he seems to be within about a 1.5 second gap. Normally, that's very, very consistent for people, but Webster is usually within a 10th every single lap.
Yeah, I think I've got to say this again, and unfortunately I do feel that Steve Webster must have some sort of problem because obviously his major problem is that Jörg Steinhausen is within about 1.5 seconds of him, and the problem is he can see him, and Jörg will put in the extra effort to get to him.
Klaffenbach in third, 2.1 seconds behind Steiny now. So Klaus Klaffenbach, look at the tyre on the back there. Klaus Klaffenbach has blistered his rear tyre. You can see the two lines running down either side of the centre of the tyre. Klaus Klaffenbach has blistered his rear tyre.
Yeah, there you can see it again, Rob. Yes, he has a problem with the rear tyre, Klaus Klaffenbach, and it's reflecting on his lap times as well.
Ian Guy, have you got Malcolm Hazel from Yokohama Tyres in pit lane?
Yeah, I'm here with Malcolm. Malcolm, we've just seen the shot of Claffey's rear tyre blistering badly. What actually causes that?
Well, 10 laps is the critical point, and yes, definitely Claffey's and Webster's look as if they're starting to blister. So this will slow them. At the moment, Steinhausen is looking okay.
Quick question for Malcolm, Ian. Are they all running different tyres at the moment?
Malcolm, Norman's asked what different compounds the front guys are running.
All the rear tyres are the medium B compound, and there are two out on the I compound, Steinhausen and Abbott. Well, okay, Abbott is now out of the race.
Okay, thanks Ian for that. So there we have it. Steinhausen's tyre looks pretty good there. We see in shot Webster's tyre, according to Malcolm, we didn't spot it in commentary, but the expert from Yokohama Tyres has said that the rear tyre of Steve Webster is blistered, and Klaus Klaffenbach, we saw that one.
Yeah, what we'll see here, you'll see Steve Webster now begin unfamiliarly to get into the corners, struggle with handling. As soon as you lose the rear tyre grip, as you can see, Jörg Steinhausen is now closing, and Klaus Klaffenbach is dropping off, and this is all down to the wear of the rear tyre.
I think I saw a black line into this corner from Klaus Klaffenbach. Now that is very strange because you're not under power there, and so that rear tyre is definitely falling apart through overuse by Klaus Klaffenbach.
Yeah, well, telling me that he's actually doing the back tyre, doing damage to the back tyre under braking, which is very unusual in sidecar racing.
Yes, what happens when it blisters is the tyre temperature gets so high, over 110 degrees, and the rubber boils on the tyre.
Yeah, hundreds of degrees, and you're going to see Jörg Steinhausen.
Steiny there running very, very wide into the last hairpin Curva del Rio. Steiny way, way deep under brakes, but that could be another problem. The brake temperatures, especially inside the cockpit, whether it's either the brakes going off or Steiny getting too hot from the temperature of the brakes. He's got a hand each side of that front wheel, remember?
Yes, what's happening there, Jörg has been struggling all weekend with the temperature from the brakes and from the front wheel, and yes, they put deflectors on, so maybe that's going to happen.
Here's the replay through the back chicane there, Varianto Arena, and there's big slide from Webster, very big, but also from Steiny. He's on the case. Then he went deep under brakes into Curva del Rio, and look at the control. He's onto the dirty part of the track there. Trevor Hopkinson, the passenger, doing everything he can to get out. And you can see the dust coming up on the back wheel. That is the very, very slippery part of the track.
He's in no man's land there, Rob.
So there we go. just had a report in, I think that was Andy Peach running on 3 cylinders again, so another problem for him. He's still running, but obviously he won't be in the points unless we see some more problems.
You see Steve Webster there just lapping the husband and wife team of the Flourish from New Zealand. Jörg Steinhausen got past them okay, no problem.
Steiny, if he's smart here, I think he would just relax a little bit and make sure his rear tyre doesn't go off, and then really push Steve Webster with about 5 laps to go.
Yeah, lap 12 of 20. We've got Steve Webster still leading from Steinhausen, Klaffenbach, Hanks, Van Gils, Rocher, Philp, Morrissey, Mingay and Billy Galros in 10th place.
Yes, a lot of dirt on the track there, and there's a big chunk of rubber on the tyre there, on the track there too.
Yes, when you start seeing rubber coming off the back tyre, we have a problem. And I'm sure Steve Webster has got a problem. We'll see this again very shortly in the camera shot. You'll see the blisters coming up on the back tyre.
Yes, I was talking with Malcolm from Yokohama earlier, and he was saying that the teams have a choice. They can go to the harder rear tyre. There is an S compound, but what it does is it reduces your lap times by about 1 second to 2 seconds, depending on how good you are, because it doesn't have as much grip, but it will last 2 races in this condition. So they have the choice not to blister the tyre, like Steve Webster does, or has done here, and he normally runs the S in these conditions.
Yeah, what happens is they just lose drive. The machine actually corners pretty much the same as they normally do, but what they actually do is lose drive coming out the corners, and that, of course, losing drive costs time.
Hanks here closing the gap on Klaffenbach, so maybe we see a new Hanks, a smarter Hanks. Look at that rear tyre, and that's a big gap. It's 4.2 seconds, 2 laps to go, 1.8 seconds now. Hanks on a charge with 7 laps to go. We could see Hanks on the podium. He's in 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, a big charge, and yes, we've seen Tom Hanks. He's probably reaping the benefits now from running a steady race and using his experience now and saving the tyres.
Talk around the paddock on Wednesday and Thursday was, well, we'll let Hanks go for 5 laps, he'll blister his tyre and then we'll all pass him. Not the case. Hanks is riding very, very sensibly. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but unexpected of Tom Hanks to be riding sensibly.
Yeah, Tom, he puts all the action into it. He's sideways, and this is a price that he generally pays for being spectacular, but it costs him tyre.
And he's done very well in this race so far. We'll just wait for them to go across the line there. In 1.6 seconds now, Hanks behind Klaffenbach. Webster, you can see that tyre has been ripped up. He's doing very well to control it.
Half a second now, Rob. It's only half a second that Jörg Steinhausen is behind Steve Webster, and he's got him in his sights.
Look at Webster, look at the control. He's sliding that bike. The rear tyre has almost no traction compared to a fresh one, and he's doing everything he can to maintain the speed and not spin it up further, because a rear tyre like this is like a slipping clutch. If you're gentle with it, it'll get you by, but if you're harsh on it, it'll destroy itself very quickly. Steinhausen looking to make a move there on Webster. Webster's losing it under brakes as well. Look at the tyre.
Yeah, you can see Woodhead there, the passenger, Steve Webster's passenger. He knows what's going to happen, and yes, a power move.
Steinhausen underneath Webster. Here we'll see the tyre on the back of Webster. Look at the 2 lines of blistering. That's the rubber that's boiled on the back tyre, giving Steve Webster no traction or hardly any anyway. Steinhausen, what a move there. Steinhausen sensible. Could this be his way back into the championship?
Yeah, and not only a good move, a very good tyre choice.
But also the way he's used the tyres. Gentle on the throttle, not spinning it up. Unusual for Steve Webster to destroy a tyre like this.
Maybe Klaus Klaffenbach will not agree with us, but yes, he's driven a pretty strong race here, and I'm sure I'd like to be a fly on the wall as these 2 gentlemen meet at the end of the race.
Yes, I don't think I'll attend that meeting. Webster, 0.8 of a second in that lap behind Steinhausen. Here's a replay of the move. Steinhausen underneath. He knows he's got more traction. He knows he can brake later. Steve Webster's just gone deep under brakes and pushed out on this move. And on the acceleration of the turn, he can't do anything.
Rob, look at the back tyre on Steve Webster's. That is completely kaput.
Okay, in pit lane, we've got Dan Morrissey retiring. He was looking so promising, Ian.
Yeah, great ride from Dan, great qualifying this weekend, but he's just retired, and it looks like he's actually got a problem with the heat from the exhaust burning his foot. You know, underneath here, the engines and the exhaust put out so much heat that this can be a problem, and Dan's in a lot of pain at the moment, and I think he'll be on a trip to the medical centre very soon.
So bad luck for Dan Morrissey. He was having problems all through the Friday with heat. In fact, he came into the pit, immediately found a hose, took his boots off and hosed himself down on Friday. And yeah, it looks like he didn't solve that problem.
Yeah, look at this one there, Rob.
Van Gils. Oh, yes. Sorry to cut across you, Norman, but that's a lot of rubber from Van Gils. Tony Van Gils right out to the side and trying very, very hard.
Yeah, they will do. Van Gils lying in 5th place, still chasing Tom Hanks, who's still chasing Klaus Klaffenbach. So we've got a race within a race here.
Steiny's tyre looks like it's got a little bit of damage on it on the outside, but nowhere near that of Webster. He looks in a fairly commanding lead there with 5 laps to go. Steinhausen, the engine sounds strong there coming onto the straight. There's the pit board. P1, Jörg loves that sign. P1, L4.
Yeah, Jörg, as young as he is, will be watching his pit boards, and yeah, he'll understand that. Look at the back tyre of Steve Webster. That has completely gone.
That looks like Hanks did last year with when he continued on that race. In fact, the tape of the race was sent to Yokohama Tyres in Japan, and they couldn't believe that someone would do that to one of their tyres.
Oh, Steve Webster there on the left-hander. Absolutely sideways.
Well, he's going to do his best to ruin what's left of that tyre and try and get back. If he can put that thing on terms with Steinhausen again, he is the master.
We saw... This is unusual to see Steve Webster in this mode of aggression, but yeah, look at the back tyre again. Yeah, I said it was going to be a war of attrition on the back tyres, and it looks like the ex-world champion is going to lose the one on the ex-world champion.
Here's the replay. Look how sideways that is. He's got that thing tapped. That is unbelievable from Steve Webster.
That is opposite lock.
He would have been hitting his wrist on the internals of the steering there as he had that thing absolutely tapped. Unbelievable. Steve Webster, that's one of the best slides I've ever seen, and that doesn't come lightly.
I'm sure Steve Webster, I'll not agree with you on that one. He probably was the best. But look at the back tyre. It's incredible. I don't know it's actually going to finish, get to the end of... it's got 4 laps to do, and I can't see it getting to the end of the race.
This is going to be the problem, because coming out of left-handers, Paul Woodhead, the passenger, won't know where the thing's going to let go. And, oh, look at that is unbelievable control. He's actually had the thing in a 3-wheel drift there. The front end was sliding as well, and then it came back into shape.
There's Tom Hanks now on Klaus Klaffenbach.
Hanks on Klaffenbach. Look at Klaffenbach's rear tyre. That has disintegrated as well, and Hanks would be looking on that and looking as to where he's going to pass him.
I've got to say, Mr. Hanks is now the thinking man of sidecar racing.
Who would have thought we would ever say that about Tom Hanks? Tom Hanks, who normally just rides with his right wrist, seems to be using his head for a change, and look at the benefit of that to him today. He should pull out of the slipstream here and take him.
Yeah, what he's going to do here is draft and pass as he's done. You can see actually rubber coming off the back of Klaffenbach's machine there, and I do believe that Tom Hanks will even have a go at Steve Webster.
Wow, Tom Hanks very, very hard into that corner. In fact, too fast into the corner. Had to slow the thing down on the brakes halfway through. And when you hit the brakes on a left-hander, the chair wheel wants to go into the air. Let's talk you through this move. Into the heat haze. Tom Hanks under brakes. Klaffenbach is a demon on the brakes. He's very, very good, even with bad tyres. Tom Hanks has to slow the machine down a lot here. Klaffenbach is much quicker than him through the corner, and he had to actually control that pass on the exit of the corner.
Tom Hanks is now on with Steve Webster. Yes, we're going to see again another fantastic move from Tom Hanks. You can see gone inside Billy Galros there, I think, and he's going to make a move on Steve Webster.
So Hanks coming through in the last few laps, he will get to Webster. Webster has no control over that, I think, because even onto the front straight, which is not generally a passing move, Tom Hanks might have a look.
Yeah, we're going to see a draft and pass here, Rob.
Hanks will see the side of Webster's machine before long as he gets it sideways, but yeah, odds on it will be at the back of the straight where he got Klaffenbach, or sooner into the left-hand hairpin, just stuffs it up the inside. Webster won't be able to fight back here. Yes, there we can see supreme traction from Tom Hanks.
Yeah, what happens there, Rob, he's got on the inside of him, and Steve Webster would have liked to reply with power, but unfortunately when you put the power down, there's nothing happens.
Well, he's got about 3.5 seconds to catch Steinhausen and a couple of laps to do it, so I don't think we'll see Hanks take the win, but Steinhausen seems to have had a good lap. Here's the replay. Hanks deep under brakes again. His brakes will be getting a little bit of a hammering here. Puts Phil Biggs over the grass. Webster sees him coming, can't do anything about it, tries not to give him too much room, just a gentlemanly amount, and has no answer on the exit.
Steve Webster's now struggling. Look, Tom Hanks has actually dropped Steve Webster. Hanks is now looking at catching Steinhausen with 2 laps of the 20 laps to go. Oh, look at Tom Hanks now putting the machine through its real pace.
So we've seen more sliding here than a lot of places in the past. Klaus Klaffenbach, his role now is the battle of the 2 rear tyres. Here's Hanks over the debris, sideways. Phil Biggs is used to this, but what happened, the chair wheel came down, the sidecar wheel came down, and it bounced back up again. So Phil Biggs, great job as a passenger there to stay out when he knew the wheel would bounce back up again.
We've still got Steinhausen with 1 lap to go. Steinhausen, Hanks, Webster, Klaffenbach.
So the final lap, Tom Hanks, can he get through to Steinhausen? 2.6 seconds, I don't think he can do it. The battle for third is the battle of the destroyed rear tyres. Klaus Klaffenbach, I think, will win that battle too. Hanks in second place there. He's extended the lead out of control over Webster, but Webster seems to have it on Klaffenbach. Those tyres are gone.
Yeah, Klaffenbach still putting the action in. He knows that there's Tom Hanks chasing Steinhausen with Steve Webster in third, and Klaus Klaffenbach still in 4th place, but liable to make a move on Steve Webster.
Hanks very, very hard under brakes there. He hasn't given up. He's going to be trying until the last lap, the last corner, the last 100 metres down to the line. Klaus Klaffenbach, did you see the smoke coming off the rear tyre? He's giving it everything he can.
There's not a rear tyre left, Rob. It's just a little bit of old rubber now on the back of the machine.
Steve Webster smoking that one on the final lap as well. You can see plumes of smoke coming off it. And we might have a fight in our hands here after all. Steinhausen with 2 corners to go and a back marker.
Yeah, I've got to say a back marker there, Rob. I don't know who it is, but it's been decided before at this. No, the back marker's moved out of the way as a gentleman would.
Into the last chicane. Hanks not close enough, I think, but he has come up to terms with Steinhausen. Steinhausen, last chicane.
I'll tell you what's going to happen here, Rob. They're going to get in the last corner and it's going to be drive off the line.
Together over the line, no, not quite. Hanks concedes, Steinhausen wins. Great win for Steinhausen Hopkinson. Webster holds on for third, and Klaus Klaffenbach cannot do it in the battle of the tyres for 4th.
Yeah, but what a great drive from all 4. The first 4, I've got to say, have all struggled under the conditions.
Steinhausen takes the win. Did we hear him yell in exhilaration? It must have been. Steinhausen with the win. He will be so happy. He came here to win, and Hanks with congratulations for Trevor Hopkinson, the passenger. Wow, what a win. And you can see it, even though the visor's closed, you can see the body language of Steiny. He is wrapped.
Yeah, he's back. Steinhausen is back.
He's damaged the front of the machine. I'm sure there'll be words about that. But he has taken the win. There was nothing Klaffenbach could do in the second half of the race to come back at Steiny. I don't think it would have been a tactic to fire the Austrian up, but have a look at Webbo with the smoke. Look at the tyre, it's destroyed, and the throttle, and unbelievable amounts of smoke under power from Webster.
Rob, that is burning rubber, that is tremendous. I mean, he's just put the power down there, and he's just burned absolutely burned the tyre out.
Well, Yokohama tyres should be proud that they can last for 8 laps after they are totally blistered. 186 horsepower going through that, and I'd say almost every one of those 186 horsepower we just saw on display. Rolf Steinhausen with Ian Guy in pit lane. Ian, what's Rolf got to say?
Rolf, fantastic win from Jörg there. He really used his head today. You must be so pleased for him.
Yeah, Jörg was so fantastic. At the time when I must go faster or not faster, I think it's clever. Jörg was very clever. Huh?
Congratulations.
Thanks, Ian Guy. So 2 times world champion Rolf Steinhausen watching your son Jörg Steinhausen take a very memorable win here at Misano. What a great race.
A lot of experience, a lot of time been put into the preparation of this machine, and yes, proper tyre choice. And Jörg is, look, you're looking at his back tyre now, you don't see any marks on it as you would with Steve Webster's and Klaus Klaffenbach's.
Yeah, it's just a credit to his right hand and his head, I think. The combination of the two, which makes it the bike just react properly. Here's the finish, the checkered flag about to be displayed. Hanks going to the line. Phil Biggs knows they're not going to get there, just sits up and has a look over to pit lane. And in the background, we can see the battle for third place, Webster and Klaffenbach. So such a tight race after some of the problems that we've had.
We're going to get some camera shots in a moment, I think, Rob, of there's Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs pushing the machine back. I've got to say at this stage, ex-world champion Steve Abbott.
Well, reigning world champion, I'd say. This is what we saw at Lausitzring last year when they pushed the machine home for 14th place and 2 championship points. That will not happen today. They have finished their race with a technical problem. Yeah! But Steiny, he is happy, and there's brother Mike there giving him a hug. It's a family effort, this team, and Rolf and Jörg with a big hug. Paul Woodhead calling Phil Biggs down. So there's Jörg Steinhausen about to take the helmet off and enjoy the next few minutes on the podium.
Yeah, very there. Trevor gets a hug. Yeah, they've done very well as a team, saved the tyres and used their experience.
The gap in the end there, 0.422 of a second to Hanks and Biggs on the Yamaha. Webster and Woodhead fought to the end with Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Partzer. Another Suzuki and Yamaha battle. And Klaus just couldn't do it on that last lap. We thought he would, but he didn't. Then Van Gils in 5th place. Good race by them. Consistent race. And Rocha and Hani, another 6th place. They may remain 4th in the standings. Running over the page there, Philp and Yendel, 7th place. They'll be very happy. They were looking for a good finish. Menge, the Frenchman, this is great for them. They qualified 17th yesterday, up to 11th today, and they finished 8th. British Championship winners last year, Gatton Randall behind them. And following through the field there, Doppler and Wagner, German champs, 13th, Fownes, Fleury, and Peach rolling across the line, but no points in 16th. There's pit lane. We can see Dan Morrissey just being wheeled away. Championship points. Klaffenbach maintains the lead, but only by 3 points now from Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. Jörg Steinhausen jumps up the leaderboard, 61 points for him with his maiden win for the year. Rocha still in 4th place. Consistency is counting for Rocha and Hani. Abbott and Biggs with that non-finish have jumped down to 5th.
Looking at the back tyre there, Rob. You can look at the debris inside the wheel. This is all from the spinning back tyre of number 4, Steve Webster.
Yes, that machine has had its full quota of use today. It has been more sideways than I've ever seen it before, I think. And that rear tyre, the strips on the rear tyre that we'll see, just a testament to what's happened with it. Just fully under power. More power than a back tyre should see, and I was amazed that it lasted the race.
I think what's happened here, Rob, is also the temperature.
Yes, well, the combination, this track has been recently resurfaced. I don't think we mentioned that before. Some of the corners have been resurfaced, but the straights and the back section are the old track, which was really, really abrasive. Large rocks with spaces in between them on the surface of the tarmac, and that does rip up tyres, as we've seen today.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it does. It literally rips the tyre up, Rob. It's like using a piece of sandpaper on the back tyre.
So the podium, there we see it. San Marino round of Superside. 3rd place, Webster and Woodhead. Still on the podium despite those problems, and that's what makes you a world champion. 2nd place, Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs. What a fantastic ride for them. They were sitting in 4th all race. We thought that maybe we wouldn't see them, and then towards the end, they capitalised on the others' problems and came through for 2nd. But the winners, Steinhausen and Hopkinson, they outthought Webster. They had a bit of an incident with Klaffenbach, which I'm sure we'll hear about in the post-race interviews. And what a great win for Jörg. Rolf Steinhausen taking a few steps up to the podium. And what a great win. I think we've said that a number of times.
I've got to say this was probably a thinking man's win, Rob.
Well, we said it during the commentary there, during the coverage, that Hanks, normally we don't attribute him with thinking. Normally we attribute him with all action. And I'm going to have to go and talk to him tonight and see what made him think.
Yes, this is what we're actually calling here, Rob, is experience. And it's coming to young Tom Hanks now. And I think within a couple of years, we're going to see Tom Hanks as world champion.
Well, I think third place there, we've got experience. 8 times title winner, Steve Webster. The second and first place teams haven't won a world title, but I think they're going to be the next champions. Hanks, son of a winner of many races.
Yeah, son of Norman Hanks, now a prolific engine tuner, ex-TT winner.
And of course, Jörg there with his father, Rolf, who won the championship in 75 and 76. Big smiles from Rolf Steinhausen on the podium. So Rolf and Jörg will be hoping that we hear that a few more times in the future. So the manufacturer's anthem follows the national anthem, and Steve Webster makes sure that Rolf Steinhausen gets himself a soaking. What a great win for Steiny. Webster seems very happy. He came third after all of that, and but the emotion on Jörg Steinhausen's face during that national anthem. Yes, Steve Webster's done a great job through that race to maintain that machine. But I think we should be congratulating first and second more for thinking about it. It was more of a calculated race from Hanks, and Steiny, just after a bit of biff and barge, just eased away for the win.
I don't know whether Mr. Klaffenbach is going to call that a little bit of biff and barge, but it was some action.
Action aplenty in Superside racing today. Steinhausen and Hopkinson taking the win. Hanks in big second. Webster Woodhead third. Claffey can't make it for third, just gets fourth. Van Gils and then Roscher in sixth. So, action-packed race.
Rob, it was, again, I've got to repeat this, it was an attrition race. The tyres were always going to be the point of success or failure. And yes, tyres and temperature.
Philp and Yendall, great race for them for 7th place. They've had a lot of problems, but doing a lot of racing, a lot of British Championship as well as World Championship. And Hautzenberger and Simmons for 10th place. That's good for them. They were having problems all weekend with the heat.
12th place for Billy Gelros, our little Swedish gentleman. Yeah, Billy's gone well after all the problems he's had.
And Skeen and Miller also for 11th place have overcome their rear suspension problems that we've seen all weekend. German champions Doppler and Wagner in 13th. Fownes and Heidenreich, who hadn't qualified because of a puncture until today, come through for 14th. The Fleuries for 15th and another championship point. And Peach and Muldoon. So let's go down to Ian Guy with the top 3 interviews.
Third place here today, Steve Webster and I nearly forgot your name there, Paul. Sorry about that. Steve, a really hard race, and you look like you were having problems from halfway through. We thought it was overheating, but obviously not.
No, it's with no problems really. I went for it too early, I think, and these lads conserved their tyres, the brakes, and also everything, and got beat fair and square. You can't take it away from both of them. They did a good job, all 4 of them today. So we're happy to finish third in front of Klaus for the championship. So that's the important thing.
And Paul, it looked like quite a wild ride there in the last few laps as he was smoking the rear tyre and getting rallycross style.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through, I just thought, here we are, normal situation, 4 or 5 second lead. calm it all down and let's wrap it up. But then I noticed it started sliding around, so I knew we had tyre problems. Tried to hang on to the end, but it just wasn't going to happen today for us. But like Steve says, the main objective today for us was to beat Klaus and Christian for the world title, and we did that. So we're reasonably happy. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to our runners-up today, Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs. Tom, last year you came here and you led the race and destroyed your tyres. Obviously, a different tactic this year?
Yeah, well, you learn off the old master, don't you? He keeps saying to me, conserve your tyres, and it's hard to let them go. You know, I can't, it's not in my nature to let them go, but I did. And about half distance I started pegging it back. It was slippy, but our tyres, you know, and brakes were okay. And I could see we were catching them, so I thought, well, you know, even if we don't catch them, at least I would have caught them by the end, and we would have done the right thing for once.
Did you actually think you could catch Steinhausen on the last couple of laps?
I thought I had one lap left. It wouldn't have, not that I would have caught him on that lap anyway, but I was convinced. I thought 2 laps, and at least I'll have a go. I don't know where, but you know, he would have done the same, wouldn't he? So, but it's good to just catch him more up.
And Paul, you look pretty. I'm getting it all wrong today. Phil, sorry about that. You look pretty hot and sweaty there. I mean, a tough ride for you as well.
It was, yeah. I wasn't looking forward to it, but I must admit I did enjoy the ride. And when we slowly started to catch him up towards the end, you know, Tom rode a brilliant race, saving his tyres, as he said. And once we caught Klaus and passed him, and then Steve just, you know, we reeled him in so fast, and we had second place, and I thought, well, let's go and try and catch Jorg, but just wasn't enough laps in it, and who knows, we probably wouldn't have beat him anyway. So, but second place, we needed to be on the roster this year with 2 DNFs and excellent stuff.
Congratulations, and we look forward to the next one. And our winners here in Misano, a brilliant race from Jorg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson. Jorg, tell us how it was from your point of view.
The first laps we struggled a little. We knew that we were not fast enough on the straights, so I wasn't surprised that Steve and Cluffy catch us there at the end of the back straight. But I didn't want to do the same mistake as previous races where, you know, came into the fight with Cluffy, which stopped us a little from Webber's following. So I'm happy that could end that fight quite early and set off to Webber to follow him. When I saw his back tire, I thought, oh my God, I hope that mine doesn't look like that. So we could easily go the same pace as Webber, and his tire went worse and worse, and finally catched him.
You seem to have a little problem in the last few laps, slowing down. I don't know whether it was missing gears. Was that the case?
Yeah, we've got a shift help system, which didn't really work. So perhaps it was a bit lack of concentration. I just was looking at the pit board and saw it +2 seconds, and we could control that. I think the tire still looks very good, and if there were any more laps, we could control it. It was a great race.
Trevor, a bit of an incident there with Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Partzer. How did you call that one?
Well, I just call it equal because we had to avoid Klaus or run into him and going into a left. And so it's just a racing incident as far as I'm concerned.
And obviously, I know it's a silly question, but delighted about the win here with Jorg.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time coming. This I think is our first genuine straight win. We were a little bit lucky at Lausitz, but this Jorg rode excellent.
Congratulations and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Ian Guy, for those interviews. Great questions from Ian Guy, as usual. Unfortunately, not reading names too well. Phil Biggs, that'll be Ian Guy. Anyway, an excellent race. We found out from the guys just how good it was in those interviews. Steinhausen round the outside into turn 1. It was a bit of a dusty affair. Getting onto the dust. Steinhausen took Webster. Webster took Steinhausen. It was all over the place in the first few laps. Back in the pack, there's Menge, the Frenchman. He fought hard. Webster out early, but the tyre just blistered a little bit. And there's the incident. Steinhausen running into Christian Partzer and Klaus Klaffenbach, and that was a big incident. You see the damage on the machines, and that caused the red mist to descend over Klaus Klaffenbach, and the rear tyre was shredded. Steinhausen then followed Webster. It was great to see such a controlled ride by Steinhausen and an out-of-control ride by Webster. Chasing hard. Hanks, another thinking ride, came through, just controlled it, didn't over-rev out of corners, didn't spin up the back wheel, had control. There we see Webster's tyre just totally destroyed. Dan Morrissey with a lot of heat problems, retired. Webster with one of the best slides you'll ever see in a road racing machine, absolutely crossed up under full power. Hanks finally got him because he had nothing left to give. Hanks, but on a bit of debris there, Phil Bick's doing a great job. But Steinhausen came through. Hanks tried to get him, couldn't get him on the line. It was such a great race, such an emotional race for Jörg Steinhausen, winning again after so long. And there you see the emotion, but also emotion for Tom Hanks as well, as we heard in the interviews. So what a great race there. Brands Hatch, 25th and 26th of July. I really hope the action will be as good as we had today. Thanks to Ian Guy in pit lane. Thanks to Norman Burgess in commentary. I'm Rob Marder. We'll see you at Brands Hatch.